Elion Paris is high quality MMA and boxing protection equipment. It's a brand that sells basically everything related to MMA and boxing, going from protection to equipment. And the goal today of the presentation is to see how Elion Paris, which is a brand that is uh, vastly located in Europe, can go on abroad and tackle the Chinese market. Chinese market, which is really in expansion relating to everything boxing and mostly MMA. You have in this slide, second slide, you have the content, what will be presented in this short video and short presentation. First, we will tackle the positioning of the representation of the brand. Two, the boxing and MMA in China. What makes MMA in China? What makes MMA and boxing big in China right now? The framework of the project, and to wrap it up, the digital marketing approach that we feel can match with the value of start presenting the brand. We spoke about Elion. So Elion is a Paris-based company that sell high-quality product and mixed martial art product. Basically, that's the definition of the brand Elion. What is interesting there is the fact that the brand is based in Paris, so goes with a high quality and high top end image because it's based in Paris. The product that are made in leather, high quality leather, and we want to capitalize on the fact that it is based in Paris. So in the mind of Chinese people, it can mean more something more like luxury and something more like that we goes on with high quality. On this slide, you can see the product. So as I said, basically it's boxing, protection equipment, sportswear, and training materials. What's interesting there is the fact that the whole range is there. The brand already produced its whole range of products. So all product branded Elion can be sold and can be found on already on the online store of Elion, who online store Elion that that can send materials, that can send product everywhere in the world, even if basically the market for the moment is mostly Europe. So as a product, you can see shorts, sportswear, t-shirts, boxing gloves, like I said, MMA boxing, and all things related to protection, training, and equipment that can help you progress in the sport. The market of Elion boxing is mostly Europe. Why Europe? Because first and foremost, it's easier and cheaper for the brand to only sell product in Europe due to the fact that you have the Eurozone, or the fact that also you have no money conversion problem because you basically trade in an area, in a zone that use the same currency. Another thing is that the boxing is still a dominated a Europe dominated sport, because as you can see, either in all the championship or even in the Olympics, most of the time the Europe is still well represented in the total medal regarding boxing. So there is a real market. Um, Nevertheless, the market is kind of at a maturity level, because as of now everyone can practice boxing, and there are a multitude of different brand, a multitude of different brand that can sell it, that can be of a competition for Elion. That's why the expansion in Asia is really something that can be envisioned, because it's a new market. The market is not at maturity yet. It's a really new market, and it can give to Elion another edge, another advantage if if we are already made stride in this area, because they already have one MMA athlete in the person of Cyril Gann. Cyril Gann, for those who don't know him, one of the boxing partner of Christian Ngannou. Ngannou is a really well-known figure in the UFC. Sirigan is just new to the UFC, but he already has 6 victories in the UFC and is the previous TKO champion of 2017. So it's a prospect that really can propel the brand to some height if his continue his ascension. So maybe it can be an advantage for Elion to use the visibility of this up and coming athlete on social media. As you can see, he has a solid social media page, as we can solid social media stats, as we can take the example of Instagram. And with more and more fights organized in China by the UFC, which is the organization Cyril Gann is part of, um, a foreign fighter on the rise representing Elion can really be of a benefit for the brand.
Observe on social media a weak presence on social networks and a small community. The brand communicates currently about the pro MMA fighters, product, events, and key days. On Facebook account, they have 7,241 followers. On Instagram account, they have 2,242 followers. So if we want to implement it on the Chinese market, they have to be present on mobile. It's very important. A presence on Weibo and WeChat is essential for Elion. The brand must adapt its communication to its consumer to capture the attention of the Chinese who are very attached to quality content. You have to be able to adapt to their culture and desire. Without this, it would be impossible to capture their attention, all the more so as the content is distributed massively and it is complicated to stand out. It is necessary to return the experiences unique and memorable. Above all, what is on offer must be entertaining. Elion should highlight famous and well-known boxers in Asia and China to propel its brand. If the brand already appears to be known and trusted, consumers will be more numerous. It should give the impression that it is already a market leader. The fact that Elion is a French brand is a plus because it is a sign of quality and appreciated in Asia. However, it is essential to show that the Chinese market is known and that the brand is not a beginner.
So now I'm going to talk to you about the boxing and MMA market in China. So first, let's speak about the most popular events in China. Currently, boxing market in China is completely exploding. The first UFC event happened only in 2012 in Macau. Since many UFC big events took place in China, like the UFC Fight Night Shanghai 2017, the UFC Fight Night Beijing 2018, and the UFC Fight Night Shenzhen 2019. Besides, we can observe that the Glory, the most important and famous kickboxing organization, set up some events like the Glory Shenzhen 73 in 2019 and before the Glory 57 in Shenzhen in 2018. So, it means that through all these events, China represents a huge new market to welcome the biggest event of the world.
This is the research we have made on the benchmark of many foreign brands unboxing and three brands like Adidas, Nike for the benchmark of very successful brand of sports in China. And from here, what we could see is Everlast is the most successful specialized boxing foreign brand in China. They are very easy to access in every shopping website. They have the coverage on almost every social platforms. So this is a pattern that we can actually follow. Obviously, we need to position our brand face to the mainstream giants like Adidas, Nike. They have a huge visibility and awareness on local territory as well. To create official account in every platform is not necessary. The most important thing is to accumulate the active fan base on particular platforms. For example, on Xiaohongshu and Zhihu, people only talk about brands but don't need to follow them. So they gave us the directions of how to make our own strategy plans, and that will be mentioned later.
Work of the project. So the project of going to China for a brand like Elion, we go on. We can have this type of market segmentation. In the demographics, what Elion should target are a Chinese white collar class. Why? Because those are the people that can afford high end or luxury type products. Why? Because it's also an element of differentiation for them, and we all know that differentiation can be something really important for Chinese people. It should be men and women from ranging from 25 to 40. Why 25? Because around 25 years old, people tend to be self-conscious about their health, and also they are workers, so they tend to fulfill all their passion, and they tend to spend more money regarding the product that they buy. Okay, those are millennials also. We can target millennials that are really self-conscious regarding their health, and also because they want to spend more money, as I said, on some product that can help them have some differentiation. In the geographic, we are targeting tier one cities. Shanghai can be the primary focus. Why? Because in Shanghai you have most of an influence from outside, from abroad, and it's also one of the country where boxing and MMA, notably MMA and UFC, are really well represented. That's why we tend to target a city with a window open for occidental sports. Shanghai can be the primary focus of the entry of Elion in China. Regarding the specificity of the target, we know that those people that we are targeting are netizens, so it means like they spend a lot of their time on social media. So that's why we want to push the approach of having icons on social media, because we know that people will tend to follow their icons on social media, and they will spend more time. They spend a lot of time regarding looking at social media. Looking at social media and identifying with the icons. A league like the UFC are really active on social media. That's a vector also that we can use. And we all know that women are well represented in the number of practitioners of boxing. That opens up also a new line of product, maybe a new line of on the market for Elion, because it can touch also a lot of women that are self-conscious of themselves, and that they don't hesitate to go out and train, and for that they also want a sort of differentiation. So that's why high-end product and high-end leather and quality.
So why the French branding could work? Currently, and for the last decade, we saw more and more cross-border e-commerce websites known from the general public. In 2016, 5 of them offered a big visibility to French brand. Timor Global, JD Worldwide, YG.com, Xiwu.com, and Carola Haigu. But Timor and JD together represent 80% of this fast-growing market. Then, as business French partner with the giant Alibaba, La Poste, the national French mail service, has chosen to give priority to helping small medium-sized enterprise on the Chinese market. This is why La Poste Group launched the Boutique France, a multi-brand sales site that guarantees the authenticity of products and promotes a French art of living.
So now we started to talk about the digital marketing strategy. On shopping websites coverage, we have decided to put Tmall.com, JD.com due to the majority people are using these two websites. And due to the specialties of Amazon.cn, it can be also easy to entry. On social media coverage, we have decided to use the 3 majority media people are using right now: WeChat, TikTok, 小红书, and the demo journey will be covered next page.
Here is the daily life of a white-collar boxing enthusiast in Shanghai. We can see that she used WeChat almost every time, from morning to the evening. And on her way to work, she used application Wang Yun to listen to music. And she used Douyin when she is having breakfast to watch some short videos. And during the work she used WeChat, and during the lunchtime she used Douyin again, and also Xiaohongshu. In the afternoon she worked with WeChat again, and after work she's going to boxing training class. And during the training she used Wang Yiyun to listen to music. After training, on her way back home she used Wang Yiyun to listen to music again. At the dinner time she used Bilibili and iQIYI to watch some videos. And in the end she used WeChat, Douyin and Xiaohongshu before she go to bed.
So what about the possible spokespersons that we could contact? Actually, we chose to target two of the biggest Chinese athletes in the UFC. First, Zhang Weili, who is currently the UFC Women's Strawweight Champion. Then, Song Yadong, who is probably one of the biggest prospects in the UFC roster. At 23 years old, he is one of the youngest athletes in the organization. About the social media, they have a strong impact. For instance, Zhang Weili records more than 1.2 million followers on Weibo. Song Yadong has 69,000 followers on Weibo. So now let's talk about the cooperation with influencers. We know that such calls are very relevant and valuable for any brands who want to implement on the Chinese market. For instance, Tian Liang is one of the most powerful influencers in China and is definitely the one you need if you want to promote products and services, especially in the sports business field. Former Olympic champion in 2000, he is followed by more than 20 million people on Weibo. Then, Linda, with 260,000 followers on Weibo, records one of the highest followers engagement rates. Considered as a super sportswoman, she has a strong influence toward the Chinese woman.
Last but not the least, appendices. We have interviewed some Chinese boxing practitioners. As you know, boxing is not a very popular sport in China, so it's very difficult to find a boxing practitioner in China. And we have two examples of interview. One is former boxing professional athlete, now is boxing coach of Beijing Sport University. The other is current coach of women's boxing national team in China. They all really love boxing. They think boxing requires high qualities such as strong speed, endurance technique, etc. And boxing is more standardized than MMA technical moves. Both of them think fighting equipment are very important. It can protect themselves. And one interesting thing is they all don't really know about Made in France in sports industry. And their daily life are quite simple. Home, training center, canteen. They don't use much application because they need to spend a lot of time in their training. But I don't think they are our target because they get their fighting equipment from the team, from the association, so they don't need to buy it themselves. At last, I want to say boxing is not a popular sport in China, but it has a good future. Nowadays, there are more and more people practicing it, and we think we will have the market.